Okay, welcome. Today we're diving into a world that feels, well, both incredibly strange and maybe disturbingly familiar. Think about trying to navigate a system where your very right to be there is constantly questioned, and finding a place to belong seems almost impossible. We're exploring Franz Kafka's incredible unfinished novel, Thecastle.
Exactly, and we'll be using some key excerpts, almost like looking over Kafka's shoulder, to really get under the skin of this book. We want to unpack the main themes, the big ideas, and importantly, get you to connect with the characters, feel their struggles, and then see how these quite profound concepts maybe show up in our own lives today. It's about finding that universal spark in this very specific, almost dreamlike story.
Right, so let's jump in. We start with Kay, our protagonist. He's a land surveyor, and he arrives in this village sitting right below this castle. And almost instantly, he's thrown into this confusing mess of officialdom. Like right away, he gets confronted by this young guy, Schwarzer, who's apparently the castellan's son. And Schwarzer demands to know, why is Kay here? Does he have permission? It's an immediate challenge.
And this is pure Kafka, isn't it? That absurdity just hits you straight away. Kay says, look, I've been summoned. I'm the land surveyor. I'm expected. But Schwarzer makes a call, and the answer comes back, nope. Kay is dismissed as a common lying tramp, and probably worse. Just like that. But then, wait for it, the phone rings again, maybe moments later, and the message is the total opposite. Oh, a mistake, is it? The head of the department himself said so. Suddenly, Kay is legitimate.
It's just, wow, so disorienting. And that immediate contradiction, it's not just a weird plot point, is it? It really sets the mood for the whole book. Yeah. Kafka's not just poking fun at bad admin here. He's maybe suggesting that our sense of self, our place, it might hinge on these totally arbitrary decisions from powers we can't even see.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
How much of our own reality relies on permissions we just assume are solid?
That's a great point. This constant shifting forces Kay and us, the readers, to question absolutely everything, which is kind of Kafka's whole project, exploring modern life. Now think about the castle itself. When Kay first sees it from a distance, it looks okay, clearly defined, maybe even glittering. It meets his expectations, but then he gets closer and it's just, well, disappointing. A wretched-looking town, a huddle of village houses. He even thinks it's worse than his own hometown, an immediate anticlimax.
Yeah, the visual letdown is stark. But the real depth is in what it represents, right?
Yeah.
Our sources talk about it symbolizing divine dispensation, like a state of grace.
Yeah.
Sort of that ultimate goal, maybe spiritual fulfillment that Kay is searching for. But Kafka makes it seem not just far away, but completely baffling, impossible to grasp.
Exactly. And then you have the village down below, which represents, life, the soil, the community, healthy, normal existence. So there's this huge tension between everyday life and this remote, incomprehensible ideal.
It's a powerful contrast.
And the way Kafka describes the path to it, the main street, it did not lead up to the castle hill. It only made towards it, and then, as if deliberately, turned aside. Kay keeps thinking it must turn back, must lead there eventually, but it just doesn't. It's such a potent metaphor for how the path to understanding or authority or maybe even grace always seems to twist away just when you think you're getting close.
Oh, that image really sticks with you. You feel Kay's frustration. Now, as Kay tries to navigate this, he meets other people caught up in the castle's influence. And their stories, especially Frieda and the Barnabas family, they really drive home the human cost of living under this kind of system. Kay himself, his motivation isn't just about a paycheck. He wants, it says here, to found a family and arrive closer to God through leading a normal life. It's a deep-seated need to belong, to become a native.
Yeah, it's this pursuit of a state of grace, of acceptance. And despite everything being so confusing and contradictory, Kay clings to this inexpugnable hope, like a hope that just refuses to be crushed no matter how illogical or dreamlike things get. It's this stubborn persistence. But at the same time, he feels incredibly alone. He says, I don't fit in with the peasants, nor, I imagine, with the castle. That feeling of being perpetually on the outside. I think a lot of people can recognize that.
That sense of not fitting anywhere. Yeah, it's very relatable. And then we meet Frieda. She's fascinating. She used to be the mistress, the sweetheart of Clam, who's this key castle official Kay is desperate to reach. Initially, Frieda has this air about her, a striking look of conscious superiority. It captivates Kay. And they connect very quickly, intimately even, famously under the bar counter near Clam's door. And she makes this bold statement, I'm with the Land Surveyor. It feels like a real act of choosing Kay over the castle.
But what's so compelling and honestly quite sad is how she changes after leaving her position for Kay. She seems to lose her vitality, her looks fade, she feels inadequate. She even tells Kay she feels not good enough for you to live with. It just shows the immense pressure their whole uncertain situation puts on her psychologically. And her internal conflict is really stark, especially with her weird fascination with Kay's assistants, who were described as importunate and lascivious. She can't seem to control them, admits she watches them constantly. It's like she's unraveling.
That dream she talks about having. Wanting a grave, deep and narrow, where we could clasp each other and nobody would ever see us anymore. Wow. That speaks volumes about her despair, doesn't it? This intense desire to just escape the pressure, the uncertainty, the absurdity that's just consumed her life since she joined Kay.
It's a wish for oblivion, but a shared one, a tragic kind of intimacy, really.
Her story really shows how these big, impersonal systems can twist personal lives and relationships.
Well, absolutely. And linking that to the bigger picture, look at the Barnabas family. Olga, Barnabas, Amalia, their lives are just ruined, completely destroyed, all because Amalia committed the unpardonable offense of refusing a summons from a castle official named Sortini, and the summons itself was apparently vile, abusive. For standing up for herself, basically the whole family gets shunned.
It's horrific, isn't it? The village completely ostracizes them. They're described as cut off from the community forever, just despised.
Yeah.
And the castle's reaction, nothing. Total silence. It's like they've been erased, socially executed by this unseen power with no explanation, no appeal.
And Olga, her sister, she becomes the family's advocate, constantly trying to clear their name, managing Barnabas, who acts as a messenger. But it seems so futile. Their struggle for justice, for acceptance, when the system itself is indifferent or opaque, it taps into a key Kafka theme, this idea of our incapacity to recognize the good. Like, how hard it is for us humans to even figure out what the right way is, let alone achieve it, when the rules seem arbitrary or hidden. How do you aim for justice when you can't even see the target?
Which brings us to the nature of that authority itself. The castle, Kay finds out pretty quickly it's less a government and more like, well, a constantly shifting puzzle. The bureaucracy is just bewildering.
Yeah.
Take the superintendent trying to explain Kay's summons. First, he says it was a mistake from ages ago. Okay, fine. But then almost immediately he says, errors don't happen. And even if one does happen, like with Kay, who can say finally that it's an error? It's complete doublespeak.
It really is. And it gets better. He talks about these control authorities that don't actually look for errors because, well, errors don't happen. So convenient. And decisions apparently just happen arbitrarily when the whole system gets overloaded, when it can't bear the tension anymore. It's less a rational process and more like a glitch in the machine.
So it makes you ask, right? Is Kafka using this crazy system to comment on the gap between, say, human logic and something bigger like divine will or grace? Does it imply that whatever we try to do rationally is just bound to be wrong in the eyes of this higher inscrutable power, that the rules we understand just don't apply?
The telephone system is another brilliant example of that disconnect. For the villagers trying to reach the castle, it's useless. It just hums or gives joke answers, a total barrier. It perfectly symbolizes their isolation, the impossibility of communicating with the powers that be. But inside the castle, it works beautifully, apparently. It just hammers home that division between the insiders and the outsiders who are just left hearing static.
And the ultimate insider, or maybe the ultimate phantom, is Clam. This official Kay needs to see. He's almost mythical. Kay only catches one glimpse of him, maybe. Through a peephole, seeing him apparently asleep. Never a direct encounter.
And the landlady's description of Clam's memory, or lack thereof, that his forgetting is absolute. It covers the past and the future, like authority can just wipe the slate clean whenever it wants.
Wow. Just erase things from existence.
And Clam's own secretary, Momus, adds to the mystery. He says Clam doesn't bother reading reports or protocols. He compares him to an eagle, just following incomprehensible laws. It paints authority not as necessarily evil, but as something operating on a completely different plane, utterly indifferent to human concerns, like a force of nature.
And this is where I think the castle really hits home for us today. That feeling of wrestling with bureaucracy. I mean, who hasn't felt like Kay when you're stuck on hold with customer service or trying to navigate insurance claims or deal with some huge, faceless organization?
Exactly. That feeling of being up against something nonsensical where the rules don't seem to apply fairly and your own case just gets lost. Kafka nailed that feeling of being threatened by their encroachments, which are so meaningless.
Totally. And Kay's bigger quest, beyond the job wanting to be recognized, to belong, to build a normal life, that resonates too, doesn't it? That fundamental need we all have for purpose, for community, to feel like we fit somewhere, that we're seen and valued. Kay's struggle feels very modern in that sense.
Absolutely. And Kafka is unflinching in showing the strain this puts on relationships. Look at Kay and Frieda, her decline, the way their connection frays under the pressure, or the Barnabas family ripped apart by this external judgment. It really shows how these impersonal forces can warp our identities and damage our closest bonds. It makes you think about the hidden costs of chasing our own castles.
Yeah, what is the collateral damage? Which brings us to that tension between pushing forward and just giving up. Perseverance versus futility. Kay keeps going with this obstinate insistence, this inexpugnable hope, even when every door slams shut.
Right. So what does that mean to keep striving when the goalposts keep moving, when success seems impossible? Is it admirable? Is it foolish? Kafka doesn't give easy answers, but he definitely makes you confront that dilemma. How do you keep your purpose alive when the world seems set against you?
It's a question that lingers, for sure. So just to wrap up a bit, Thecastle is this amazing blend of the surreal and the intensely real. Kafka shows us this struggle against forces that feel overwhelming, often totally baffling.
He really does. But, even with all the absurdity, all the bleakness, Kay's sheer persistence, his constant effort to find meaning, to get recognition, even inside this broken system, maybe that's not failure. Maybe it's actually a powerful way of affirming life itself. In a world where, as Kafka suggests, the right way depends on how you relate to powers you barely understand, perhaps the victory isn't reaching the castle. Perhaps it's in the trying, the questioning, the relentless effort to carve out your own path, even if it's a struggle towards something like justice, goodness, and the will of God. Maybe just understanding the maze, navigating it, that is its own kind of freedom. The journey, not the arrival.
That's a really hopeful way to look at it, actually. Fantastic deep dive. Yeah. It definitely leaves you thinking about the castles in your own life and the value of simply continuing to strive.